We're so excited to give back to our community. The photo shows a corporate team in matching t-shirts holding an oversized check, surrounded by staged smiles. The caption talks about community investment, local commitment, and corporate citizenship. But here's what's actually happened. They dropped off cookies at the fire station or police station, took photos, posted them on every social media channel with a dozen hashtags, and called it community building. Meanwhile, they pay minimum wage with no benefits. They crush local competitors with predatory pricing. They lobby against living wage laws. They extract wealth from the community and send it to shareholders 3 states away. But sure, the cookies. I've watched this performance art for years. Companies that claim to create community while actively harming the communities they operate in. The photos get posted, the PR gets distributed, and actual community members roll their eyes because they can see exactly what this is. Advertising and social media dressed up as altruism. Let me show you why we're creating community has become corporate America's most transparent and most insulting lie. The translation, advertising with better optics. When companies say we're creating community, here's what they actually mean. We're getting brand visibility cheap. A $50 sponsorship of a Little League team gets your logo on jerseys and a social media post. That's cheaper than actual advertising and comes with a halo effect. We're creating content for marketing. Every community initiative is photographed extensively. The ROI isn't measured in community impact. It's measured in impressions, engagement, and brand sentiment. We're doing the bare minimum for PR purposes. Just enough to have something to point to when questions arise about community investment. Just enough to put in the annual report. We're performing corporate citizenship without the substance, the appearance of caring without the cost of actually caring. And here's how you know it's performance. Ask what percentage of revenue goes to these initiatives. Ask if they'd continue if they couldn't publicize it. Ask if executives can name the problems facing the actual community beyond what makes good photo ops. The silence will probably be deafening. The community initiatives nobody asked for. Let me paint you a picture of how this typically works. A retail chain opens in a small town. Within weeks, they're everywhere, sponsoring the high school basketball team, setting up tables at the farmer's market, delivering cookies to the police, buying ads in every local publication. The photos flood social media. So grateful to be part of this amazing community. Proud to support our local heroes. Community is everything to us. Meanwhile, what's actually happening? They hired 30 people at $10 an hour with unpredictable schedules that make second jobs impossible. No benefits, no paid time off, no path to full-time employment. They undercut local businesses that were paying living wages and offering benefits. 3 longtime local shops closed within a year. They source nothing locally despite being surrounded by local suppliers. Everything comes from corporate distribution. Their community investment budget, the cookies, the sponsorships, the ads, it's $5,000 annually. They extract roughly $2 million in revenue from the community. That's a 0.25% investment in the place where they're actually extracting the wealth from. But the cookies, they make great photos. The farmer's market phenomenon. This one deserves special attention because it's become such a perfect example of fake community building. Corporations now set up booths at farmers markets, events specifically created to support local farmers and small businesses. They're not selling anything, they're just engaging with the community. They hand out branded swag. They run contests where you post photos with their hashtag. They collect email addresses to keep in touch with you. They take pictures of employees talking to community leaders. And they call this supporting local. Never mind that their business model is built on destroying local businesses. Never mind that they source from industrial suppliers that undercut the actual farmers at the market. Never mind that their presence takes space from the actual local vendors. They've co-opted a genuine community space and turned it into a marketing opportunity while calling it community building. I talked to a farmers market organizer who started rejecting corporate booth applications. The backlash was immediate. Don't you want community partners? We're trying to give back. This is discrimination. But as she pointed out, you're not giving back. You're taking. You're using our market's reputation to market yourselves. Actual community partners would buy from our vendors and encourage the customers to do the same. You're doing neither. The police fire station gambit. Here's another classic. Companies deliver cookies, coffee, or lunch to police and fire stations. They photograph it extensively and post about supporting our heroes. It's genius marketing. Who can criticize supporting first responders? It's controversy-proof content. But let's be honest, what this is, it's buying goodwill with groups that have community credibility. It's associating your brand with universally respected institutions. It's creating content that's guaranteed to generate positive engagement. How do we know that it's not genuine? Because it only happens when the cameras are present. Random acts of genuine generosity don't require photo crews and PR announcements. It's never scaled to actual need. First responders work 24/7, 365. The cookies, they came once, during business hours, when the marketing team is available for photos. If you genuinely wanted to support them, you'd find out what they actually need and provide it consistently. There's no follow-through, no lobbying for better first responder funding, no sustained support programs, no actual investment in public safety infrastructure, just cookies, cameras, and some photos. One fire chief told me, "We appreciate any gesture, but let's be clear, when companies photograph delivering a dozen donuts, put it on billboards and call it community partnership, while they fight property tax increases that would actually fund our department, it's not partnership. That's exploitation of our reputation." The high school sponsorship scam. This one makes my blood boil because it exploits kids. Companies sponsor high school sports teams, theater programs and yearbooks, logos on uniforms, ads and programs, banners at events. The pitch is always supporting education, investing in our youth, building tomorrow's leaders. The reality, they're advertising to captive audiences of families. They're building brand loyalty with young people. They're buying access to school property and events for a fraction of what traditional advertising costs. And they're doing it in environments where families often have no choice but to participate. You can avoid watching TV commercials. You can't avoid the sponsor logos at your kids' mandatory school events. Want to know how I know this isn't about supporting education? Look at some of these companies' positions on school funding initiatives. They typically oppose tax increases, living wages for parents. They lobby against minimum wage increases, affordable healthcare. They fight requirements that would help families. And paid family leave, they oppose the mandates. They'll do it themselves. They'll put $500 into sponsoring the school play while lobbying against millions in school funding because sponsorship gives them marketing value. Actual support would just cost money. The social media performance. The tells are all in how these initiatives are documented. Photo to impact ratio. 3 photographers for 1 hour of volunteering. Dozens of photos for a single $100 donation. The documentation effort far exceeds the actual effort. Hashtag volume. Every post has 15 hashtags. Hashtag community first, hashtag giving back, hashtag local love, hashtag community partners, hashtag proud to serve, hashtag support local, hashtag community matters, hashtag together we build. The desperation for visibility is palpable. Logo placement. The company logo, it's visible in every photo. Some companies even put their corporate vehicles in the picture. Employees are wearing their branded shirts. Branded materials are prominently displayed. Nothing is candid. Everything is staged for brand visibility. Frequency of posts versus frequency of action. They post about community investment weekly. The actual community initiatives happen quarterly. They're milking each event for months of content. The language. It's always corporate speak. Proud to partner with. Grateful to give back. Honored to support. The vocabulary of press releases, not genuine connection. Real community members talk about their community differently. They use names, not hashtags. They reference specific relationships, not the amazing community. They discuss problems and solutions, not photo opportunities. The numbers don't lie. Let's talk about what actual community investment would look like. A company operating in a community could genuinely invest by paying living wages, offering benefits, sourcing locally, paying fair taxes, providing stability. Now compare that to the typical corporate community investment. $2,000 sponsoring Little League, $500 on cookies and coffee and pizza for first responders, $1,000 in farmers market booth fees, $1,500 in high school advertising. Total, $5,000 versus $520,000 in living wages and $200,000 in benefit versus tens of thousands of dollars in local sourcing. But the $5,000 in photo opportunities gets publicized. The alternative, actually investing in the community through employment practices, is invisible. It's hard to share on social media. The Patagonia counterexample. Now, let's look at a company that actually invests in communities so we can see the difference. Patagonia built their business model around genuine community and environmental investment. 1% of sales, not profits, sales, goes to environmental organizations. They pay living wages and offer comprehensive benefits. They actively lobby for environmental protection. They've committed to carbon neutrality and transparency about environmental impact. They've prioritized durability over planned obsolescence, literally telling customers not to buy their products unless they really need them. They've funded grassroots organizations doing actual work, not just creating photo opportunities that they share on social media. Notice what they don't do. They don't stage photo shoots delivering cookies. They don't flood social media with humble brag community posts. They don't plaster their logos on school gyms. When asked why they don't market their community investment more aggressively, Patagonia's founder said, because it's not for marketing. It's because it's right. That's the difference. Real investment happens whether or not the cameras are present. The employee perspective. Here's something that companies miss. Employees see through this performance. I talk to workers at companies with aggressive community building programs. The pattern is consistent. They're forced to participate in photo op volunteering on their own time or during hours that would otherwise be breaks. It's mandatory but unpaid or uses their PTO. They watch executives get credit for community leaderships, even receiving certificates and trophies and gifts. While workers get their poverty wages, they see the company spend money on publicity stunts while denying raises, cutting hours, and eliminating benefits. They're asked to post about company community initiatives on their personal social media, turning employees into unpaid marketing channels. One retail worker told me they made us volunteer at a food bank for a company photo shoot. We were all on food stamps ourselves. We literally qualified for the food bank we were volunteering at, but the CEO got an award for community service. The cognitive dissonance is stunning and insulting. What actual community building looks like. Real community investment doesn't require press releases. It looks like local ownership and decision-making. It looks like long-term commitment, authentic reciprocity, paying your fair share, listening before acting, empowering those local voices, accepting accountability, and there's no publicity requirement. They do the right thing whether or not anyone's watching. I know a small business owner who exemplifies this. He's been in his community for over 30 years. He employs 20 people with good wages and benefits. He sources from local suppliers even when it costs him more. He serves on the school board. He sponsors kids' sports without requiring logo placement. He closes on Sundays so his employees can have family time. He's never posted about any of this on social media. He doesn't have a PR person. He just runs a business in a way that strengthens rather than extracts from his community. When I asked why he doesn't publicize his community investment, he looked confused. Why would I? I live here. These are my neighbors. This is just how you do business. And that's what actual community membership looks like. The language hijacking. Part of what makes this infuriating to me is the language theft. Community used to mean something. It meant genuine connection, mutual support, shared identity and fate. It meant people who stay, who invest, who build together over time. Some corporations, not all, but some have hijacked this language for marketing purposes. They call themselves community partners while not being accountable to the community members. They talk about being part of the community while maintaining the explicit right to leave whenever profit margins demand it. They use community building to describe activities that are transparently self-promotional. This isn't just annoying, it degrades the actual meaning of community. It makes genuine community connection harder to articulate and recognize. When they get defensive. The response when this is pointed out is pretty predictable. We're trying to do something good. Why are you criticizing our generosity? But it's not generosity. Generosity is giving without expectation of return. This is marketing with a return expectation built in. We're raising awareness for important causes. No, you're raising awareness of your brand by associating with causes. At least we're doing something. The something is often less than nothing. Photo op volunteering that disrupts actual work. Sponsorships that commercialize spaces that should be free from advertising. Publicity stunts that insult people genuinely working on community issues. One policeman told me after a community event, he wasn't sure why he had to come outside, stand in front of the police station in his uniform with all the other police officers for a free piece of pizza. I understand. It actually seems like the deal wasn't very good. The honest conversation. Here's what companies should tell communities. We're a for-profit business. We're here to make money. We employ people and serve customers. We pay our taxes and follow the law. We try to be good employers and neighbors. But let's be honest, we're not a community organization. We're a business operating in the community. We'll participate genuinely when we can, but we're not going to pretend that marketing initiatives are community building. That honesty would be refreshing. It would be respectful. It would allow community members to focus on genuine community building without the distraction of corporate performance art. The truth? We're creating community is a lie that most companies tell themselves to disguise self-promotion as altruism. They're not creating community, they're creating content. They're not giving back, they're taking photos. They're not investing, they're advertising. Real community investment is expensive and largely invisible. It's wages and benefits, local sourcing, and long-term commitment. It's being a genuine community member, not a brand trying to monetize community feelings. Dropping off cookies for a photo shoot isn't community building. It's brand building. And the transparent self-congratulation insults everyone involved. The community members are expected to applaud, the employees are forced to participate, and the actual people in the community know exactly what you're doing. You're not fooling anyone. If you want to build community, stop performing for social media and start acting like an actual community member. Stick around, be accountable, and for the love of everything, stop photographing every minor act of basic decency and calling it community leadership. Because communities see right through it, and we're tired of applauding performances while the wealth gets extracted.